Off the Podium, the number one Olympics podcast in the world, coming to you for another opening ceremony review. And we're here at Sydney 2000 to celebrate 25 years of the Sydney Olympics. We didn't even get Andrew Hedges to draw this one. We said, fuck it, we're doing Sydney 2000 because he won't draw it for us. We need to do it. And what an opening ceremony it is. And we're so pumped to talk about it, particularly with a man who lives in the city where it happened and was there when it happened. And he's wearing a hat because it happened. It's Jarrod Lubick. Jarrod, welcome back.
Thank you. I am, so excited to talk about this. 8-year-old Jarrod was, living the dream watching this on TV. So it's nice to revisit it.
Or as Olivia or John might say, dare to dream, dare to fly. Oh, we're going to be singing this entire episode. And a man who was older than both of us, but nowhere near Sydney in the year 2000. It's Colin Hildy. Colin, welcome to the Outnumbered podcast today. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm always outnumbered on these podcasts, but today, I guess, with good reason. Although I decided to join in today by dressing the part.
You did.
I almost was the second most Australian person on this podcast today until Jarrod decided to whip something out.
Yeah, it did.
And for people listening, it's a hat.
Yeah, it's a hat. You just stand up and go, whoa, there he is. I'm like, oh, impressive. Not quite. But no, if you're listening and you want to see Australiana stuff going on, Jarrod and Colin have joined in and are wearing hats. And I'm wearing a shirt, which may or may not get me into trouble, but I don't really care.
This time he's wearing a shirt.
This time I'm wearing a shirt, yes. Because I'm naked.
So those of you that tuned out to the last 3 YouTubes because of that incident, Ben's wearing a shirt again.
Because that incident. I mean, what can I say? As soon as I get to the Atlanta opening ceremony, I just get naked. I just can't help it,
Woo!
It's
Girls Gone Wild with Ben Waterworth.
What was our old man's name? He was great.
Oh, yeah.
You know what Girls Gone Wild is, Colin? Wow, look at you. You didn't even know.
They had those ads on TV all the time.
A couple of days ago, we were recording the Paris recap. You didn't even know what Boys in the Boat was. Now you know what Girls Gone Wild is. You've really got educated recently.
I still don't know what it is.
Most men don't, Colin. Most men don't. But Sydney 2000, obviously we are celebrating 25 years of the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games with interviews and great things happening. And what a way to go back to this opening ceremony. But I want to start with Colin because we joke about being outnumbered, but I feel Jarrod and I are going to have a lot more stories to tell about where we were, what was happening, and to really give a vibe of that. But take us through what you were doing on 15th of September 2000, because we are releasing this episode on the 15th, the literal 25th anniversary of the opening ceremony today. But so much do I know about the opening ceremony. I know the day, I know the time, I know everything about this opening ceremony. But 15th of September 2000 in Winnipeg or LaSalle, Manitoba, I don't know where you were. Whatever part of Canada you were in.
This is going to be very similar to Atlanta and Nagano for me because, I was watching this, but I hadn't started recording the Olympics. So it's something I've never really revisited since September 15th, 2000. I started recording, Olympic footage during these Sydney Games. It was like on day 2. It only occurred to me. I'm like, oh, I should get a big 10-hour VHS tape and start recording stuff. So all of this is sort of almost like watching it for the first time. There's a couple moments here or there where, I'm like, oh, I think I kind of recall this, but not 100%. But I do remember watching this the first time and just thinking like, wow, that was huge. That was massive. And I think that's kind of the legacy of these opening ceremonies is it ushered in that new era that I guess you could say this through to London or Sochi that was, just big and extravagant and practical.
It's funny. That's exactly what you said when Jarrod whipped it out. Big, massive, practical.
Practical.
Giant, massive. I mean, just actually a question though on, I don't know if you would remember this, but like, what was the thought or the excitement or the mood around Australia hosting Olympics outside of Australia? Because I asked that because we know the excitement in this country. Maybe it's a similar question what we asked about Vancouver when you guys had that in 2010. But like, was this an excitement level, intrigue? Like what did Canadians think of Australia back in the year 2000? And were you excited to kind of see us present ourselves to the world in what was at that point a new Olympic city, a country that hadn't hosted the Olympics in 44 years, well before our lifetimes?
I think mostly because within my lifetime, most of the ones that we were seeing was for the first time. It really wasn't any different than other Olympics. I think it would have been interesting had you had this 1 year later, because the big explosion of, Australian content, Australian actors.
I thought you where you were going with this. A year later, September 2001, big explosion. I'm like, Colin, this is a bit inappropriate.
What I'm getting at is you had like Hugh Jackman and X-Men and stuff like that. And I mean, everybody knew who Nicole Kidman was, but then you had like Moulin Rouge and everything like that. I mean, even technically you could say Russell Crowe, although you're going to say he's not technically Australian, Gladiator that year. So suddenly coming off of 2000, there was so much interest in Australia. And I would think that these Sydney Games probably contributed a little bit to that. But yeah, I would say 2001 and on, there was a lot of interest in Australia. But at this point, it was basically the same thing as like, we're in Japan. Oh, okay. I haven't seen anything in Japan for a while.
Mission Impossible 2 was also released in 2000, which was Sydney. Matrix had been filmed the year before. And we've talked a lot about that in the Oz Network, that kind of this was around that period where Australia, like it was a big deal that Australia was having a movie filmed there. Like I remember when the Star Wars prequels were here, like, now we just take it all for granted, whereas back then it was a big deal. And reliving this and really kind of getting taken back to that time frame. And Jarrod just wants to go. He doesn't.
He whipped it back in.
He whipped it back in and just leaves the room apparently. But it sort of took me back. There he is. Welcome back. It was sort of just like, again, we take for granted now about how Sydney is perceived and Australia is perceived. Like this almost was like a coming of age for Australia on the world stage of like, here we are, this is us, like, a big deal. And it's sort of, it feels so weird and poignant now looking back to this period and remembering that. Jarrod, you were 8. You were 8 years old. You were in the Olympic City. What do you remember about this day? And how close, did you do anything? Did you go and watch it from a live side? I mean, were you there? Like, I don't know. What did you do for it?
I was not there. I watched from home, but I do remember like the hype. Even like more so, I feel like the hype came so early in terms of like the torch relay, because that came out to Penrith and then all like the local schools were like part of that. So we like participated in like these dances in like this like space outfit, which is very like open ceremony coded. But yeah, just like the buzz and the lead up. And I think finally in that moment of like, oh, it's finally here, it's arrived. Like there's so much buzz in the lead up, and then to finally get there and be like, this is our moment on the world stage. Are we going to like fumble the bag? Like, I feel like that was kind of like the anticipation leading up. And then for it just to basically be an awesome opening ceremony, just icing on the cake.
And let's also remember that for us, it was the last day of school for 2 weeks, because I think this might be the only time in history that all of Australian states and territories aligned to have school holidays for those 2 weeks. So that was exciting. Yeah, I mean, I was in a different...
Can I just ask a question?
Go for it.
What's your regular school year? Like, when does school start for you?
It depends on the state. Generally, it's end of January. For Tasmania at that point, though, we only had 3 terms at that point, whereas everyone else had 4 terms. So for us, it was like mid-February we started, and you'd end like a week before Christmas. But now I think we're aligned with the mainland. So it's generally... Because our school years is a calendar year, unlike you guys, because you're like the US, aren't you, where your school year is like September.
Or is it structured around give them the summer off?
Yeah. So our summer, of course, is obviously December to February, but so we have a calendar year. So end of January to December, and generally your school holiday. I mean, September is generally school holidays, but I think it's beginning of September. I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time since I've been at school, Colin. And I'm not allowed any kids, so I don't know when they are. But no, it was a big deal. I remember sort of coinciding that. But even in Tasmania, just the buzz, the feel, and everything around it. We'd had the torch come to Tassie, and I remember following it, seeing it. We had like all these parade things in the lead up to it. But I just remember just like my dad and my mum, who, weren't massive Olympic geeks, but I remember them just like, oh, we're not doing anything that night. Like, Friday night was always like takeaway night for us. So you'd go out and get your takeaway, but we had to be early that night because I think it was like, 7 o'clock start on the dot. But just the anticipation, you could feel it everywhere. You could really feel the anticipation. Like literally, I think everybody in Australia went home that night to watch it, no matter where they were. And just the media, the news, the hype. Like I really doubt we're going to get this for Brisbane in 7 years' time, because it's just the vibe. And like you could not go anywhere in Australia that day without, who's going to light the cauldron? Who's going to light the cauldron? Like just the rumors and everything around that. It was just such a vibe. And I'm going to hold this up for our viewers. I rewatched the opening ceremony DVD released by Channel 7, which, at peak popularity, this was going for over $100 on eBay. This was a rare commodity, and I bought this for like $10 from a secondhand store, kept onto it. And like, I'm glad I watched this rather than the YouTube one. A, because I didn't sit through fucking ads every 10 seconds. But B, I got Bruce, I got Sandy, I got Ernie Dingo. Like, I got everybody there. There was interviews.
Ernie Dingo, that is the most Aussie name I've ever heard.
He's an iconic Australian Indigenous presenter who has been around for years. And he basically sat down and gave all the information during the Indigenous section. Like, it was so enlightening, like so entertaining and so informative. And this has about like 15 minutes beforehand where it's showing like all the arrivals. So like you see like almost like a red carpet arrival of the who's who's. Here comes Muhammad Ali. Here's Chelsea Clinton. And then Bruce McAfee like, oh, and there's Gough Whitlam, former Prime Minister of Australia. I think it was like John Curtin, former Prime Minister. There's John Howard. And then like one of the Channel 7 people was interviewing John Howard and he's like, yes, I'm so excited to be here to see Australia to the world. Little Johnny Howard and his eyebrows. And they literally interviewed Nikki Webster. Like, he's like, no one knew who she was at this point, but it's Nikki Webster getting interviewed beforehand. Vanessa Amorosi, like, it's just, this is great. So yeah, just so excited. And just, I was saying to Jarrod and Colin off air, someone on YouTube has uploaded the Tasmanian News lead into the Sydney 2000 Olympics featuring Steve Titmus, dad of Ariane Titmus, still our host of the news back then. So all the anticipation and everything along the lines. And I just also want to hold this up too because I'll forget to do it. When I moved here to Melbourne, I've got all my boxes, all my Sydney 2000 stuff I found, and I've got the newspaper from the day after. This is the Hobart Mercury, who I used to work for a while, but that is the front page of the next day of just how big of a deal this was. Kathy's crown, there she is, and on the back there's Nikki and all the stuff going on there. So yeah, just I've got it all. That exciting, and it was that pumped and everything about it. And I got to say, like I used to watch, like Colin, you said you haven't watched this, in 25 years. I used to watch this I feel like every year. Like I would, September 15 would roll around, I'd put it on. There was at least probably a good 10 years I would watch this every single year. I had the soundtrack. I would listen to it to death, just always. But I probably haven't watched this in 15 years, maybe. And I got so emotional watching this. Like it just, I just got taken back to 13-year-old Ben watching this. The excitement, living room with my parents, just everything around it. And that's why maybe I'm going to be the most biased. Like you thought I was biased in Paris a couple of months back, but like
I'm ready for 5-star Ben making this comeback.
No, I'm not even going to hide it right now. This is 20 out of 20 for me right now. I'm not even hiding it because like nostalgia can play a part into it, but it just brings back so many things with it. And the one thing actually, I was doing a bit of research more on it because we had Rick Birch on a couple of years ago. He talked about, he was obviously the director behind this and everything. Great interview if you've never listened to it. But one thing actually that I was reading about, there was a lot of IOC rules chartering around the opening ceremonies around 1999 where they gave a lot more freedom to individual Olympics to kind of express themselves with branding and things along those lines from the year 2000 onwards. Hence why these games were heavily branded as the games of the new millennium. You know, I know we had the centenary games in Atlanta, but prior to that, we didn't really have like Olympics having their own slogan, their own sort of like moniker, so to speak. So Sydney was really the benchmark for that. And we always talk about this being like in the golden age of opening ceremonies and setting the standard. Well, this was the very first opening ceremony that allowed the cultural section to form a narrative. So what we even saw in Atlanta when we did that a couple of months back, that had cultural sections, but even we were a little bit confused about the culture. Like, what's going on here? They were kind of like separated and they still felt very formal. We said that felt very dated. This feels very modern. And there's a reason behind that. This is the birth of what we now see in opening ceremonies. While Moscow was sort of credited as the one that really brought in the culture and took it away from more sort of just like marching into the ceremony, yay, let's, whatever. Like this is the one that formed a story. And we joke about Nikki Webster setting a benchmark of the little girl, little boy, let's tell it through the eyes of a child. Well, she did. She literally did because this was the first opening ceremony of its kind. So, Jarrod, I just wanted to throw that before we get into sort of other things or that sort of stuff. Like, I mean, knowing what we know about opening ceremonies now, we've covered a lot of these. We've covered ones from the 70s all the way up to today. Like, does that kind of make sense when you sort of hear that history that this was the birth of the modern opening ceremony?
Yeah, and you can feel it watching it. I'm the same as you. I honestly haven't seen this since 2000. I feel like I knew everything that was coming up because I listened to the soundtrack so much after the games that I was like, this will be the next song. I can't remember what the segment is, but this will be the next piece of music that we get. But yeah, it stands out so much compared to everything that's come before it. And similar to you, just like watching this the whole time, I'm getting like goosebumps, so much nostalgia, seeing the whole thing through rose tinted glasses. So expect elevated scores from my end as well.
And Colin, before I go to you on that, like it feels big. This feels like an event. And what surprised me about Atlanta is I was expecting Atlanta to feel this way because it was American. And even Nagano, like you kind of just expect it. But like to me, this is the first opening ceremony that feels like this is a massive deal. This is like an entire country on display. I think we all loved Vancouver because that was Canada on display. You know, we haven't done any other modern ceremonies in 2007. What, Pyeongchang have we? So we haven't really had that opportunity.
Rio.
And Rio, yeah, well, you know, the ones that
Paris.
good. Paris. But in all seriousness, like Paris, and I think why I loved Paris so much is Paris to me got back to this vibe, this like epic showcase, whereas I think Rio was the one that kind of steered away from that. And obviously Beijing, Tokyo, we know why they felt watered down, and Pyeongchang was better than I remembered. But Paris really circled back to this grand epic, like, you feel it, the crowd in this stadium, you feel it, you feel the energy. And that like, this sounds wanky the way I put this, but Jarrod will get this. That to me was just Australia. That was how excited we were for those Olympics. 110,000 people in that stadium, showcase us. That was the entire nation. And that to me, when we get to do Salt Lake, Athens, Turin, obviously next, Beijing, London, Vancouver, we saw it. Like, this signifies what I keep calling the golden age of opening ceremonies. Anyway, Colin, I'm rambling. Anything to add on anything that I just added there?
I mean, just briefly, you know, like you said, it's sort of the start. You could see the shift in opening ceremonies, and you could see where the ones that follow this really took the ball and ran with it. I think the one thing that might hold me back a little bit on my scores for some things here is that I know from my memory that like Athens maybe one-upped on some of these areas, Beijing one-upped on some of these areas, London. So, but to see the shift between Nagano, I think is still like our second highest rated one, was an amazing opening ceremonies. But this one is clearly different. It is clearly, like you said, a new era. It's more modern. Mm-hmm. I think the one thing that I really do applaud Australia for is that they weren't catering to the world audience. They weren't putting Crocodile Dundee out there, you know.
Fair enough, he's in the closing ceremony.
but like you look at your performers, right? Like a lot of these people, the guy who sings with Olivia Newton-John. Okay, everybody's gonna know who she is.
The guy who sings it. Get off this podcast.
Wait, I will have some very kind things to say about that guy. I love that guy.
Surely the other two singers, right? Not John Farnham. Oh
the
no!
God, like, wow.
These aren't
Australia started a war with Canada today, right now.
It's not like
25 million people.
You're the voice and anthem of an entire generation. Just snubbed.
That's like I say Bryan Adams, the guy who sang with Nelly Furtado.
No, but does anybody know him outside of Australia? Is my point, right?
Well, if they don't, they're not counted.
but that's what I'm applauding it for, is that this felt like we are showcasing what is our identity, what we love. And, you know, we had a bit of that in Vancouver. Like, obviously, we're going to put Bryan Adams and Nelly Furtado out there, but I think we all kind of agreed of like the music performances in Vancouver, that was maybe the weaker one because it just felt like here's Bryan Adams, here's Nelly Furtado. And I like to be able to see that you're putting people out there, that this is your culture and you're sharing it with the world.
Yeah, no, look, jokes aside, I completely agree with you because I think the difference between Canada and Australia is that you have more iconic singers that the world knows, because generally most people think they're American anyway. But like, I mean, and also back in the year 2000 compared to now, we don't have the level. Like, I mean, today, like, there's a handful of Australians easily that people probably don't even realize they're Australian that you could put out there. But 2000, who was it? Savage Garden were big at the time, but they obviously weren't going to be out there. I mean, you've got to go back to the 80s, like Midnight Oil were known, Men at Work were known.
AC/DC.
AC/DC. I mean, but in all fairness, John Farnham, like, I think You're the Voice did crack like the US top 50, but like, it is a fair point. Even Kylie Minogue in the year 2000, she has a big deal in the closing ceremony. Kylie Minogue had the Locomotion in the 80s, and it wasn't really till Can't Get You Out of My Head a year later when she sort of then became even more prominent overseas. So I totally get what you mean, but that's a way to piss off Australians by bagging out John Farnham because that guy is an institution.
I have some very good things to say about him.
But no, like, I mean, that's why when it comes to Brisbane 2032, like, I mean, you know, I'm scared that we're going to get like the Kid Leroy. I mean, he's all right. 5 Seconds of Summer, like all these sort of ones. You know,
what's
Iggy
Russell
Azalea,
Crowe's band?
30-odd foot of grunt. Going out there. Yeah, look, you know, we've grown as a country, basically. Let's just say that. All right, Colin, let's start with you. What do you like to begin with of our 4? Cultural, parade, cauldron, or speeches slash other?
I want to start with cultural because we literally just talked about it. I think that's where I have the bulk of my notes here.
I mean, look, this, I'm going to say it, maybe the most iconic start to an opening ceremony. Again, do I have the rose-tinted glasses on? The national pride? Yes, but like, again, the excitement, that countdown, and it's literally a man comes in on a horse to the Man from Snowy River with a whip. Like, I assume you're not familiar with the Man from Snowy River, Colin. Iconic Australian poem by an iconic Australian poet by the name of Banjo Patterson. They made it into a movie like in the 80s, I think it was, Jarrod. But like that theme and just all the stockmen and women coming on the horses, and just the guy on a horse with the whip and just chills. And I remember vividly watching that as a 13-year-old and just being absolutely drawn to it. But through all that section and kind of just, you know, with the horses on it, forming the Olympic rings, the music that comes into that, just so goddamn good. We get James Morrison, not Bill Buchanan from 24, but Australia's iconic trumpet player. I think we brought up James Morrison when we interviewed that James Morrison on the Oz Network, but he's a very famous Australian trumpet player. And then that leads into Nikki Webster, a beach towel, and the birth of a national icon. I don't think there's ever been a more famous Australian 13-year-old than Nikki Webster in the year 2000. Jarrod, where were you when Nikki Webster came in? Like, I mean, we know where you were, but like Nikki Webster fever for the next 18 months between this all the way to Strawberry Kisses. I mean, we couldn't escape it, could we?
That's it. Everyone, it's so funny to have somebody like so popular, like people didn't hate.
No, exactly. They didn't. Like, to put it into context, Colin, like, she, after this, was so famous that, like, a year later, she releases a pop single by the name of Strawberry Kisses. And the film clip is her dancing with, like, very 2001. She's, like, in a space suit, similar to what Jarrod must have been dancing with a weird little, I've been missing your strawberry kisses. So good. That was, like, number 1 on the charts here. Just, amazing. But like this bursts the 2000s model of let's get a kid and tell the story of our country through this kid's eyes. And she's there on a beach towel and there's giant fish. And Rick Birch in our interview, he wanted to make these birds, but he couldn't get birds to work. So we made it fish, obviously to do with the Great Barrier Reef. And then this kind of goes into this epic Indigenous section. Like the thing that I think really is important to note with this, like this was a period of Australia where reconciliation was still obviously a very contentious issue. This was a year, if I'm not mistaken, Jarrod, with all the marches on all the bridges. John Howard famously wouldn't apologise to the stolen generation. I think, Colin, you had a very similar thing in Canada. Your Prime Minister took a long time to apologise for all the terrible treatment that the previous governments had done to the Indigenous people. Kevin Rudd would do that in 2007, but obviously at this time, a very big deal. So this, it's like a 15, 20-minute section on our Indigenous culture, which today, this is normal. We see this all the time and we have our welcome to country. You know, this is just standard fare. We saw it in the Commonwealth Games in 2006, 2018, but this was like massive at the time to have this section just dedicated to our Indigenous history. And then this transfers. One thing that maybe won't hold up today, Captain Cook coming in straight after the Indigenous people. Don't know about that one. Here come the colonisation and maybe didn't show them killing all the Indigenous people.
At least he didn't have 20 minutes of screen time.
This one white guy going, yes! And then I do kind of like Bruce McAvaney and Sandy Roberts kind of like, and here come the colonial, like, you know, Captain Cook. And I'm thinking like, this feels a little bit dated now. But then kind of into the multicultural section where there are bright colours from all the different corners of the world. The Kiwis get a freaking go there. There they are. Good for them. And just like even with Nikki Webster up on the ropes and being spun around and the music and the jumper, this is like toes that line of props. And we still don't have projection still at that point, but it's still just like it works the way it's kind of all there. And then like you sort of, Colin, touch on, you know, Australia not afraid to use like singers and that sort of stuff. But like like the closing ceremony was so much more famous for taking the piss out of ourselves. That's what Australians do, our culture. But I'd say the opening ceremony does as well. We're fucking celebrating us having lawnmowers, clotheslines, like massive iconic things in Australia like have. We have corrugated iron, because let's celebrate the fact that we have these. Like, I mean, just all little random things that you would think, okay, Ned Kelly, like, I mean, just have the bushfires with all the sparks and the flames, the tap dogs. They were a big deal in the year 2000. Why not? I'm just like, it was just so amazing, just all these cultural stuff. And then just the singing elements, like, oh my God, like Nikki Webster. I mean, I gotta say, I love Nikki. I love Nikki. But of all the songs, Weakest, Under the Southern Sky was always my least favorite. Jarrod, your thoughts? Like, you know, of all the, 4 songs, that's my least favorite. Don't know about you.
Yeah, but it's the Imagine replacement.
It is.
So it gets like a million points. Going like, this is your like song about like peace and togetherness, and it's not Imagine. It's original. It works.
No, I'll pay that. Well done. No, you sold me on that one. We get Ode to Joy with I haven't even mentioned the marching band. I mean, 2000. This is, I think, the biggest marching band in the world ever at the time. There were 2,000 members of this band, 1,000 local, 1,000 international, and just holy crap, that gives you chills. The way they're playing, they play Chariots of Fire, Ode to Joy, just like everything around that. So good. Nikki Webster, yeah, not bad. John Farnham and Olivia Newton-John, dare to dream, dare to fly. Now, John Farnham, just the Bryan Adams of Australia, maybe with less international recognition. Surely you've heard You're the Voice, Colin. Like, You're the Voice, try and understand
it's funny.
it.
I looked up to see like, oh, what was his success outside of Australia? And it doesn't even list Canada or the United States among other countries. There's like Norway and Finland,
all the ones
where you
you
might have had like top 20 hits or something like that.
There's like often debates in Australia about what's the biggest pub classic, like the song that every Australian knows outside of, you know, Waltzing Matilda and Advanced Australia Fair. You're the Voice and Horses by Daryl Braithwaite are often debated. But Jarrod, let's be honest, it's You're the Voice, because Horses,
so much better song.
Horses, people only know the chorus. Right now, sing to me the verses. No one knows the verses of Horses. You're the Voice, everybody knows it verbatim. When I was at the closing ceremony for the Commonwealth Games and they playing after it finished, and they were playing just like Australian, as soon as You're the Voice came on, everybody in the stadium, word for word, sang it. Amazing song. But like, just next to Olivia Newton-John there, I love their little holding hands, walking down there, high five. There's John, man of the people, John Farnham, high fiving everyone there. Olivia Newton-John. I mean, let's be honest, they were lip syncing, but who gives a fuck? I think there was one point John Farnham forgot to sing, but like, whatever.
Right at the end, he's clearly, there's nothing coming out of his microphone.
I think Nikki Webster's was the worst, because she was like, you see it in the kids in the choir with the Olympic hymn, like, thing that pisses me off with children's choirs is when they over accentuate their mouths.
Yeah.
And like Nikki Webster just like went too early. So, and you're just like, Nikki, calm down. The music hasn't started yet. Amazing. But then like, Vanessa Amorosi. Now, Colin, I want to cast your mind back to the closing ceremony of Birmingham.
Yeah.
You ripped into Dear Vanessa. Because you said...
No, hold on. If you remember, I ripped in because I'm like, this is clearly lip syncing. And you got so offended until I pointed out, like, look at the same things happening with Ozzy right now. And then we realized it was an audio delay. It had nothing to do with her as a singer. It's like, there's either a bad audio delay here or she's lip syncing.
Touche, fair enough. But like, it's sort of, she's at this time, like 17, I think, Jarrod. I think absolutely everybody had just come out maybe a year before. And just like, she blows this way, lip syncing or not. Heroes Live Forever. I listened to this song like just every day for so long after this. And just the manner in which this is the closest you get. Projections, the giant sheet. There's Kieran Perkins. There's all these iconic images. The dove. None of these fake like Atlanta doves of like 2 people trying to like whirl it around, no burning on a salt cauldron. Like it's not a fucking sheet. That's all you need. That's how Sydney gets shit done. Just so goddamn good. And she went on to do a song, I believe, in Melbourne in 2006. This is pre-Delta Goodrem, when Delta Goodrem took over the Australian mantle of every single opening ceremony, basically. But just, gives me chills. Tina frickin' Arena. You've probably not heard of her, Colin, but she was a massive...
No, actually, that's one we did hear of.
Okay, all right. She's big.
She's like a one-hit wonder over here. Around
Germany and France, she's also massive. I think she's kind of like a Celine Dion, that she can sing in French, so the French absolutely love Tina Arena. But, I mean, she's looking good too, by the way. Hello, Tina. Massive Carlton fan. Just want to point that out. She's a mad fan of my AFL team. Just and I forgot the Flame song existed in this opening ceremony. Just just so goddamn good. Just perfect. Notes, I mean, cultural, just a mixture of culture of Australia. You're touching the Indigenous side of things, our multiculturalism. You're touching our flora and our fauna, sheep, fucking corrugated iron, lawnmowers. I mean, that's what we do. What can Brisbane do in 7 years to top this? Like, I said this to Joanna Griggs in our episode the other day. I said, like, I feel, because Queenslanders are a lot more of like a state pride. I feel like it's going to be much more like, Queenslander, look at us, whereas this isn't about New South Wales. This is about Australia as a country. So, oh God, I could keep going on. Just give me more Vanessa. I've written down here just the shots in the crowd. Like, I love Dawn Fraser being one, Antonio Samaranch's date. And I love that they cut to her. I don't know if it's the same on the YouTube version as it is on the DVD, but literally when they're doing the lawnmower section, you see Dawn Fraser like explaining to one Antonio Samaranch, like, so these are lawnmowers. One Antonio Samaranch is like, I've never mowed lawn in my life. I thank you for letting me know. At one point they cut to like Chelsea Clinton because they're doing the thing with the torches because everybody in the crowd got like a little suitcase. You buy them off eBay. Often people are selling them. Chelsea Clinton looked bored. She's there with a little toy. Who do you think you kidnapped? Kelsey Grammer? Oh, God, so funny. Like Muhammad Ali, obviously, probably, his condition, I think, has obviously deteriorated a little bit from Atlanta because they cut to him at one point. I'm like, oh, don't show Muhammad. He looks bored. Oh, God, Jarrod, take over from me, please. I'm just glowing about this.
It's just so amazing. And I can't believe how well it holds up. It's a thing that I
100%.
was like, this stadium is massive and somehow they managed to fill it. Like there's never a point where I'm like, oh, like this looks tiny. And it's not like the camera work is like nowadays camera work where they're right amongst it. There's a lot of like long shots and everything. I'm like, they pack this in and they have these long segments that don't feel long because every time I look, they're showing something new. Like the under the sea segment, I'm like, every time I'm seeing like a brand new fish and then we're cutting back to the floor and I'm seeing the people as the fish. And then we go back out to a huge puppet and now there's a jellyfish and there's just so much happening in this short amount of time that you just don't get bored. And they threw everything at it, everything in the kitchen sink, and somehow it works. Like there's never a point where I'm like, no, this is too much. I'm like, no, like give me more. I'm like, give me more in this like Ned Kelly section / Mad Max / Nikki Webster feeding the horse an apple. Great.
Every day, that's why I want to wake up to Nikki Webster horse and an apple. There she is.
And it's just so amazing that we're not getting any of these, like people singing their hits.
Yeah.
Everything is like an original song. And it's like, not like previous games are like this. Okay. Like this is the anthem of these games. It's like pick your anthem because you've got 5 different choices you can pick from and they're all like as good as each other. Yes. Like goosebumps literally through every singing segment. What I didn't remember either was like Nikki's in this, but she's not all over it, which is probably why like it works. Like she's leading this, but it's not the like future ones with kids when it's like, no, like the kid is front and center at every single point. I'm like, most of the time Nikki's just, when she's not flipping on the cables, she's just sitting around watching. And we'll cut to her and like, oh, she's still here. just so you know, she's still here.
Pretty good actor too. I love just like constant Nikki Webster reaction. Oh, fish. Oh, horse. Oh, tap dog. Oh, Dawn Fraser and one hunter. There they are. Oh.
It's just from start to finish, it's so good. I love the humor. Like the lawnmowers get me. I'm like, this is like tongue in cheek, but in like a good way. I die at the like parcels, like the postal boxes, the people inside having to flip them over, and then them turning into sheep and getting rounded up.
And like, real dog. There was a real amazing. Dog. It's a doggo. Yeah. There it is.
And you see in the background, I thought like, did somebody's dog get loose in the middle of the ceremony? It's like, you don't realize it's part of the show.
And like, I mean, to me, like Heroes is like the highlight of the ceremony. And the fact that like, they're just running this huge piece of fabric, this huge sheet over the entire audience and then over all the athletes in the middle. Like, it's just so good. And the shots underneath of everybody like pushing it forward along the stadium. I'm like, this shouldn't work, but it does. It's so good. Just everything about it. I'm with you. Like the Indigenous section seems so like ahead of its time and giving them like all this space. This like warranted space to have like this long section when like Welcome to Country was not standard, like all this stuff that we take for granted nowadays was not standard. Like you say, like the apology hadn't happened. To give them this much space and time, like felt needed.
Yeah.
And it just works so well. Everything, I'm like, the spectacle and scale of it is so good. And the fact that it still holds up 25 years later is insane to me.
And Juan Antonio, I'm jumping ahead here, but His Excellency, he like acknowledges the Indigenous people. Like we're so used to that now. Like we acknowledge the land we send. It's just a standard part of any speech. But like he does it. He did he invent that? Maybe, I don't know. But and one thing I'll add to this,
he invented apologies.
The winner is sorry. You talk about the crowd. Like I mean, because this is when Stadium Australia held 110,000, so they obviously reduced the capacity. Now it only holds 80. We've been in that stadium together, Jarrod. I mean, we were there when Sam Kerr got that goal. That was pretty fucking epic. But like, I mean, just the vibe and like, I mean, Vancouver, you could feel the sense of the crowd there. And the only one I can really kind of vaguely remember was London, because London's always that opening ceremony to me that sort of matched Sydney in terms of just that mood that I had afterwards it. That's a word, Ben. But like everything that happens, you just feel the energy of that crowd. Like just like, and it's not like fake cheering, you know. It's not American cheering. It's genuine cheering. Like it's Canadian cheering. Like you they really feel that pride, right? Like I mean, remember when we did the Slam Poet guy and people were just cheering? Like you felt that was genuine. Whereas the Americans like, oh yeah, we have cheerleaders, yeah, woo. Like they didn't give a shit about Celine Dion. They don't even know who she is, but like, you know, fucking Tina Arena comes out straight like Tina Arena, yeah. I'm like, come on, like that's how iconic it was. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Colin. We're obviously a little bit passionate about this.
I mean, I'll have a couple of minor complaints here.
Oh, boo, get off! That'll be John Farnham.
It's going to be more on the technical side and some bad filming here for what would have been great segments. I'll start with the horses because great way to start horses. I think this is exactly how Calgary started as well. The moment though where they start to form the rings, you're like, oh, look at this. They got 1 Olympic ring. 2 Olympic rings, 3 Olympic rings, 4 Olympic rings, 4 1/3, 4 1/2, 4 3/4, 4 7/8. No, don't cut away. They literally cut away before the 5th ring is formed. And then when they come back, it's like, I think that's kind of a crooked X. What is it now? Like, I don't know. Like, somebody jumped the gun.
Yeah, they're going to make the rings 3 more times in this ceremony, so they don't need to get it right on the first time around.
Don't worry about it. And there's one point I think right before they do the anthem that the horses are all lined up on the side, and there is a guy you could tell with his bare hands cleaning up something right next to the horse. And then
Juan Antonio was coming, clean away. Come on, His Excellency, clean up the shit.
and this girl, Nikki Webster, I know you've talked about her so much before.
Girl.
I don't hate her. The fact that I don't hate a child in an Olympic opening ceremony, I'm like, they're doing a good job.
That was the actual review of Nikki Webster for the 2000s. We don't hate her.
We don't hate her for a child. But when she sits down, like right at the beginning, I'm like, those horses just got a field. I am seeing some real texture down there right now. And she's sitting right on top of it. Nobody's cleaning this up.
And her pink dress was spotless.
The under the seat part was one of the other technical problems because like there's too many points where they're focusing on her, but like you see nothing else in the frame.
Because it's like, Nikki Webster. You want to see her.
Well, you want to see her next to like a flying stingray or something like that. And
she'll die. Don't you know what happens to people who get these stingrays in this country?
There's some bad filming and bad cutting there. But it's like, you know, a fraction of what you see for the most part. To me, the best part about this was the metallic acrobatic opera or whatever you want to call that. That was incredible. That was like when we were doing the Vancouver, there was like the fiddling from the moon section, you know.
I mentioned that was very similar to like Tap Dogs in Sydney. Yeah,
and we got fire breathing in here. Yeah, another one of the small technical problems that the thing they completely missed here, worse than the rings, was the transition of like the flowers when the lights go out and suddenly they light up. Because what they do is they stay focused on one flower and the lights go out and you see the lights come on and then it comes back on and they're all lit up. I'm like, no, you do like a wide shot of that. The lights go out and then suddenly everything lights up. Small thing that kind of ruined it there. Okay, the lawnmowers.
Don't even.
Don't you knock the
game for John. Don't come for the mowers.
This is one of the things where I'm like, this, like Jarrod said, it shouldn't work, but it does. Because all I envision was every single leader of every Olympic committee from around the world on one drunken night saying like, what is the single weirdest and dumbest thing we could have form into rings? And they're going around the table like, oh, I want you to do this. I want you to do this. And somebody like, Australia, I dare you to do lawnmowers. And they're like, well, I'll accept that challenge. And then all of a sudden they do it. They have lawnmowers forming the Olympic rings. And all the other leaders of all the other Olympic nations are like, by God, Australia, you pulled it off. Good job.
Didn't see your canoes in Vancouver forming Olympic rings, did we, Canada?
What is the correlation of lawnmowers in Australia? You got to explain this.
It's a very, like Victor Mower, it's a very famous brand. And it's because, you know, the land, the suburbs, we've got lots of lawns. It was sort of suburban lifestyle. Like, let's move out to the suburbs. And, you know, the Hills Hoist clothesline was a very famous invention of Australia. You hang on your clothes out the back while you're mowing the lawn. It's just like a Australian Saturday. You wake up, you mow the lawn as kids.
But I think
how do we
that's
make our pocket money,
Jarrod?
But I know
we're very proud of mowing our lawn.
It's unique. Mowing lawns is uniquely Australian. Don't even try.
No, I've got to mow the lawn as soon as we're done this episode right now. I'm never more Australian.
And where do you think that tradition comes from?
You leave our tradition of mowing lawns alone.
Canadians didn't mow lawns until after the 2000 Olympics.
They were overgrown.
Come to think of it, I don't remember having a lawnmower until then. You might be right.
Lawnmower sales went through the roof after the 15th of September 2000. Victor's stocks went through the roof. They were rich company then.
But like, it's one of these things where it's like, it's so dumb, but I will never forget it. And to go along with
Australia, that's what we do.
I don't know what it is, but lumberjacks and people riding on what I think are giant Roomba vacuums. I'm like, that was literally the point where I'm like, I have no clue what is going on here, but I love it.
But this is why our two countries are the best at this shit, right? Because like, we are unique, we're quirky, we're fun, we have culture that people go, why the fuck do you have a slam poet? Why do you have like, who gives a fuck? What's America doing? Oh, cheerleaders, fucking, we're America, good for us. London, we invented industry, da-di-da-di-da, like whatever, like, we just like, we're brilliant. Canada and Australia are so good at this, right? Because we can just do it. And like, I can't wait till we do all the opening ceremonies, we get to the closing ceremonies. Because again, I would argue the Vancouver closing ceremony and the Sydney closing ceremony are better than our opening ceremonies, right?
Yeah, like, agree.
Oh, so good.
So Olivia Newton-John and John Farnham here. First of all, this song is fantastic. Like,
I want to. You want the soundtrack? I'll send it to you.
This John Farnham guy, like, I don't know. You're saying he's like a Bryan Adams. Like, the way he performs, though, I'm picturing like this is like a traditional lounge singer because he's got all these gestures where he's like singing and he's like pointing to people. It's like, hey, good to see you, buddy. And it's like, la, 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 la. Hey, what's up, babe?
Look him up in the 80s with the mullet and like he's back to the 60s. Look up Sadie, the cleaning lady. This guy's very Sadie, the cleaning lady. Very traditional.
It's like, hey, thanks for coming, everybody. My favorite part, though, is where it is a very serious song. And he does a mic dropping catch. It's one of these where he's like, whoa! And it's like his gestures should not fit this song, but he is so much fun to watch.
He was interviewed on Channel 7 for the thing. And the guy's basically just like, oh, how you feeling? And he's like, oh, yeah, you know, just doing this, couple billion people, no drums. Like, oh, how you doing to prepare it? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty drunk right now. It's like, no, I'm not kidding.
It shows. But it's so good. I mean, you mentioned with the lip sync, because I love that, where it's right at the end, and they have Olivia Newton-John's mic on still, because as soon as the song is, hey, everybody, thanks for coming, he's like, no words coming out of his mouth whatsoever. So this Vanessa Amorosi, I just want to go back to Birmingham, where you got very offended that I implied she could have been lip syncing, and right here, like, all right, we know she's lip syncing.
Because but one thing I'll say with this one, they don't really show a lot of her singing. That's the problem, because they're focusing on the giant sheet, right? You see her at the beginning and the end. So like when she's hitting those high notes,
the hands. But like
the ray gun of 2000, there she is. That was her inspiration. She was doing the sheet for the Olympics.
Ray gun should have said that. That was a routine in honor of the
Come on, Rachel, when we get you back on the show, you're going to confirm to us that you weren't doing the kangaroo, you were doing a tribute to the Sydney opening sheet.
In Los Angeles, I had better see Ray Gun doing the lawnmower too. Like, whoa. But this is the style of music that I typically hate, like big diva like singers. She doesn't overdo it with like the like she's not going like the voice fluctuating up and down.
Mariah Carey stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that at all. It's a great song. It fits the moment. That thing with the sheet going over, like such a great spectacle. Yeah, but what I like even better is the guys who are at the front, because you can't see at first, like, how is this thing moving? At first you think it's just the people underneath doing this, but then you see that there's guys on each side who are holding like a pole, and when they're going through the crowd, like the athletes on the floor, they're like on their tiptoes running. They're like, stretching hard. Cause like, Yao Ming's coming up. Look out. Like, how do they get it over half these people? I don't know. It looks so cool. I love that. Tina Arena, when she came up at this point, it was right near the end and Jamie was in the room with me. And Tina Arena comes up like, Tina Arena. I'm like, Jamie, do you remember Tina Arena? And Jamie looks, she goes, no. She's like, good body though. And then the song ends. She goes, whoa, check out the nipples.
I swear you're married to me.
Don't say that. I'm going to divorce her tomorrow.
Well, fits in with being married to me. So
there you go.
Yeah.
No, I mean, all the music performances are fantastic. I think the only mistake they made is, and maybe, I don't know, Tina Arena was just the biggest one at that time, but like, you saved probably the weakest performance and weakest song for last. Like, I would have maybe closed with John Farnham and Olivia Newton-John.
Well, I think it's because her song's The Flame, and that's when the flame comes out.
It's the torch relay.
But is it her song, or did they give her that song?
I think
because then you could just...
They were all original songs. I mean, to be fair, even Tina Arena wasn't like, it was early 90s she kind of peaked. I feel she wasn't massive in 2000.
I think it's because here, that was around the time, the one hit, I don't even remember what the song was called, but like the one hit she had was that time, like 1999, 2000.
That really good. No, was that Kate Sobrano? I always get Kate Sobrano and Tina Arena confused. They're different people, Ben. But
sure.
What was that song that she did? What was her famous song? Someone help me out here. Tina Arena.
I can't help you. To me, she's the one I know the least about. Like, to me, Tina Arena is like post-Olympics fame of like singing the national anthem when Cadell Evans won the Tour de France. Yeah. And she just invited herself to do that. She wasn't asked.
Didn't she make the news recently because she like yelled at somebody and like, because people were getting into a fight at a concert or something like this?
Sounds about right.
Fight at Tina Arena's concert. Burn. She did that song Burn. That was the one I'm thinking of. Anyway, 5 out of 5. Jarrod?
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. Colin, your score doesn't count. I heard 5 out of 5 as well, didn't I?
I mean, I said I had some minor complaints with this, but I wanted to see my scores for the past ones too, because I'm like, I don't think I've given a 5 yet for any of the cultural ones. I did. I give Vancouver one. Did I give Nagano one? No, Nagano was close.
4.5.
Yeah. But yeah, I was watching this thinking like, is this going to be my first 5 ever? But it's my second 5 ever. But chronologically, this will be my first 5. Because yeah, despite some of the flaws are on the production side, like the filming side, the television side, and not the display itself. And yes, I will never forget things like lawnmowers.
No mention of Laurie Lawrence.
Oh, Laurie Lawrence. Forgot about Laurie.
Laurie Lawrence.
That's my least favorite part of the opening ceremony.
Yeah, so the bit with like the old guys yelling on the screen, and he's like, "I'm like, go,
swim faster."
So he was a coach, I think, of the Australian swim team, like in the 80s, famously coached Duncan Armstrong to a gold medal in Seoul. But he became like a real household name for like
pool safety.
Yeah, fence the pool, shut the gate.
I hope they do that at Brisbane.
Keep the fences down to resuscitate. He was, I don't know, like he pumped people up. Like, you saw him in the crowd as well. He's like, you know, Dean Boxall getting excited for Ariane Titmus in Tokyo. He was like the pre-Dean Boxall type guy. And did ads for teaching kids not to drown. So before him, kids drown, and then they went, "Oh, Laurie's telling us not to drown."
It was like lawnmowers for pool safety.
Yeah. Fences didn't exist
in Australia.
It was a lawless place, Australia, before 2000. How Jarrod and I survived, I don't know.
Tap dancing in the street.
Those Indigenous people walking around blowing fire out of their mouth. Oh, it's terrible. When we said sorry to him, just calm down. That's how it happened. Jarrod, what would you like to do next? Parade, speeches, / other or cauldron?
Oh, let's go parade.
Oh my God, this parade. So No steps this time around. Sorry, Jarrod. No steps. But like, I love just the way, like, I love a ceremony where you have the athletes in the middle and you like allow them to be part of the show. And is this the most colorful group of athletes you have ever seen? I don't think there was a single country that did not look amazing in their outfits. Japan looked like Mount Fuji, but like bright. Like, what was going on there? That was fantastic. I mean, there's too many to even note down. African nations, again, killed it with so many of the ones there going on. Canada had a weird casual jacket with white sleeves, which was a bit...
The grey pants.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening there?
It was a summer version of like our Nagano outfits. I didn't mind the jacket. The bucket hats were like, I don't know if that works.
Italy were the Wiggles on the pants. Did you have commentary or was yours just without commentary?
No commentary.
You need to watch the Bruce one. Bruce and Sandy were losing their shit at everybody. And like, just like, we think the modern Olympics are a case of every single commentator has to be like, oh, this country's got a war, this country's got a famine. They were doing it in the year 2000. The amount of times that Sandy Roberts would be like, and yes, Tajikistan, 500,000 people just died in an earthquake, but they've got a wrestler here who could win gold. Like, it's just the way that they would sort of transition into something positive going on there. I had here Georgia. It looked like you had their flag bearers look like they were getting married by being followed by a bunch of spies in the little spy.
It was like the royal family followed by a rebellion or something.
That was interesting. The two, I remember that, I mean, big deal. The two at the time made like all the headlines was obviously Korea marching in together. Was that Pyeongchang they marched in together? That's made a big deal. So. And Sydney was the first time that it had happened. And the East Timorese who came in under the Olympic flag, which is how happy they were and how jovial they were coming in. Everybody seemed happy. And I will admit, a difference to Atlanta, where everybody in Atlanta was in a rush. Even like that lady in the wheelchair for Italy being carried down the stairs. Here it was kind of the opposite. Everyone was just a bit lazy in Sydney. Like, it's very laid back Australia. Hey, fucking, how you going? We're just going to walk through there. I love the cutting to like the delegations and like dating this. Like, the only time it felt dated is when you notable celebrities or, you know, politicians like America, Bill Gates.
Waving his little flag. He's like, yay!
The only time Chelsea Clinton seemed like she was excited. Like, yeah. Imagine if this was like, you know, Athens and they sent the Bush twins. They'd be fucking pissed off their tits in the crowd, drunk on the Greek wine and everything along those lines. And then Australia, like, they interviewed Andrew Gaze before, and he was wearing like a poncho to cover the outfit. Because I do remember this secrecy. This wasn't like nowadays where they show the uniform like a couple of days before. And this was like a big deal in Australia, what the outfit's going to be. And then we had these Mumbo numbers, which are like, what, the ochre. You're not a fan, Jarrod? You're shaking your head.
They're so bad. They should have kept the poncho on.
No, these are iconic, Jarrod.
Not for the right reason, though.
This is, wait till we get to Athens, then we can talk about shit uniforms. This is the one uniform that I would spend money on eBay, but every time somebody sells on eBay, they're like $2,000. I'm not spending that much on a uniform, but that Mumbo is like a very famous the surfwear, Jarrod, like sort of casual street, you know, very big in the 90s, 2000s. So they designed these jackets, and I do, like you say you don't like, I do remember there being a bit of criticism around this, as there often is around any sort of opening ceremony uniform, but I love them. They're iconic. Just seeing Andrew Gaze coming out with the flag one-handed, so iconic going on there. Andrew Gaze, Colin, if you're not familiar with, basketballer, played 5 Olympics for Australia. Seen as Australia's Michael Jordan, probably our best ever basketball player of all time. And just the band playing all the different music for different nations. So they play like the Mexican hat dance for Mexico coming out. I think it was for Sweden. They played ABBA. Of course they would. Just the way that they kind of do that. And just Australia, we cheer for it. Like, I know like America, we're like, hey, let's cheer for this. We like gave big cheers for pretty much everyone. Which I was like, okay, good for that. Canada's flag bearer, Colin, was Caroline Brunet. Thank you, canoeist. And I just wanted to point out the American flag bearer who has been on this show, Cliff Meidel, who, if you weren't familiar with him, and Bruce and Sandy tell the story in that he basically got electrocuted in a construction accident, nearly died, and fought his way back to come into the Olympics in canoeing, and he was the flag bearer. We had him on the show a couple of years ago. Great interview that we had with him there, but love this. It's just to me what sells this are the costumes. The athletes look like they're having fun, and just the overall just vibe and the crowd and the feeling of it. I've never seen a crowd so energetic for people coming into a stadium. So yeah, I love this. I'll go to Colin first for this one.
I mean, this is where I'm going to bring our scores to a little bit more of a realistic level here, because I don't think the parade's that good. What I will say is that this is the best variety of outfits that we've seen yet. Like so many countries looked unique, had, good designs and everything. The problem for this is that it's similar to what we had in Atlanta with like the athletes all in the four corners in the middle of the field. Like you said, there's more variety with the outfits this time, so it has a more colorful look. But we don't have the ramp, and the ramp was a problem last time. But Jarrod might be happy. Jarrod might be happy for me to say that I feel like this needed a ramp because it is so. This is like going back in time. Everything is so modern with these Olympics. This is like going back in time to 1972 here, where you're coming out of one corner of the track. There's no grand entrance. There's no arch. There's nothing but people just walking on a corner track, and they're stuck on that corner of the track before they all have to start getting ushered off onto the field. So there's such a small stretch of athletes that you barely get to see anything. It's in the corner of the screen. A ramp would have actually given this some type of life, but it's made up for it by the better outfits. Like American Samoa coming out shirtless, and then their female athletes, like they start on this wide shot. Female athletes, they're basically wearing flesh-colored outfit. So I'm like, the women are naked too. And then you zoom in, you realize this is their outfit. Some really bizarre things. Cameroon came out, and their shirts has some guy's face on it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who the guy is, but who is that?
Don't know, but good
President
for that guy.
Canada, I'm going to send it in the chat because I don't know if either of you caught this, but Canada had one guy who I guess probably got fined afterwards because he didn't wear the opening ceremony jacket. He had a DIY one that had like his name and his parents' names and his place of birth on it and everything.
Oh, I saw because was that Canada? I thought there was an American he'd like defaced his uniform by writing all over it. Was that Canada? Was it? Because I remember noting.
So I looked it up.
Okay.
Richard Duncan here, who he didn't medal or anything. He was a long jumper. This was his second Olympics. But on his outfit, which it looks like he might have just turned his jacket inside out or something like that, and he wrote on it, it says Richard Duncan. It's got the Olympic rings, the maple leaf. Then it says St. Catharines, Ontario, mom and dad, Phil. And then he put in the bottom in Texas, which I had to look up, and I guess he trained in Texas, or that's where the university he attended or something
just
like that.
In case he gets lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad memory. Back
this is like where you write your kid's name on the tag of their shirt. You know,
they didn't have cell phones back then, so like I mean,
to be fair, I think it looks better than the official uniform. Yeah. They've all done that individually.
That would have been great, yeah. And commenting on the bucket hat, I mean, I don't know if that works. Jared's wearing a nice one right now. This is one thing. One of my twins, Remy, has an obsession with bucket hats, primarily a red one that's like a Paddington bear, but like that is all he'll wear. And he'll only take off his bucket hats when he goes to bed, but he puts them on his pillow next to him. So if I could track one of these down, as long as it's less than $2,000, I would buy one for my kid.
Half the reason I gave that one to Jarrod is I'm anti-bucket hat.
Wow. See?
Oh, you just made an enemy of Remy.
Bucket hats are big in the archery world.
They are. They're unfair.
They're very big. You can draw fully back.
It is.
Cap, you can't do that. It impedes the draw.
But I don't get this modern obsession with the bucket hat. I'm just not on board. I'm sorry. Sorry. No.
Yeah. I also noticed the other weirdest thing along with the guy's face on Grenada was not Cameroon. So Grenada was the other one. They wore this hat, but the hat had like a spire on the top. Oh. Like it was a regular hat and this giant like 2-foot-long spire on top of it. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here.
There's a satellite there a long way away from Grenada.
Exactly. This is the only way we can broadcast this. The people, and that's what their commentary. And for all you watching here at home in Grenada, the only reason we're able to see this is because
NBC Grenada had to have that on their hat. There it is.
Best costume by far, Japanese with their multicolored capes.
God, it was good.
Amazing. Amazing. That is maybe top 5 Olympic outfits of all time.
Did you have,
then
can
when
I
the
ask just on your coverage, sorry to interrupt, but like, because again, I'm watching the Channel 7 one, so obviously they probably cut a lot more to the Australian athletes, but maybe it's more of a question for Jarrod. Were they cutting to specific Australian athletes, or was it like sort of the IOC feed? Like, did you see like Kieran Perkins and Matt Shervington and the guy with the spiky hair from the water polo team? Like, so that was just the general feed. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean, they had the longest entrance, so they had to cut to somebody.
Yeah, it was. I've got to say, that is the longest entrance I've ever seen at an Olympic Games, and it's Australia. So I mean, we milked that for sure.
Who is the one in the wheelchair though? Because it's not the Paralympic opening.
Louise Savage, I think that was.
Did she compete in something?
She's a very famous wheelchair racer, and I think they had exhibition from memory in Sydney. They showcased like it didn't count for the medals, but they did like a wheelchair race, because this is obviously Paralympics were still growing a lot of that time. And when we had the Canadian on at the beginning of the year, her battle with Louise in Sydney 2000, she talked about that. So pretty sure that was Louise Savage. Yeah.
She got a lot of close-ups during that.
Very famous Australian
entrance
athlete at the time. Yeah.
And then the individual Olympic athletes coming out dancing. They were the highlight as far as performers.
Right before
and
Australia, though, like, you think like we joked about, was it, I can't remember what one it was. Maybe it was Atlanta, where we were saying like how much they just like gelled over the people just for the US, or maybe it was Paris just before the French boat. I can't remember. But like this one for a country, generally, no offense to like the Zimbabwe's and the Zambias who come out before the country who's coming out last, the host nation. I'd almost argue that they're as memorable as Andrew Gaze coming out. Just they're dancing in there and the crowd cheering, because you got to remember in 2000, this was like a year after Australia had basically sent troops into East Timor to help them become an independent nation. East Timor in the year 2000 was a very big political, like the Ukraine of today or Palestine. Like it was a big deal in the year 2000. So yeah, Australia really embraced that moment.
Yeah, really just what takes us down, it's the poor layout and just the uninteresting entry that the athletes get. It's funny. It's funny because Ben lives up to his reputation on this episode.
Yeah, but I've got a backup on this one. This isn't just Paris going like, oh, I love everything about this, which I do. Like this is different.
This is not a 5-star athlete parade.
Yes, it is, Jarrod. Come on, back me up here.
It's close. I'll give you that. It's close.
You can talk more about it if you want, if Colin's finished.
I'm finished.
I think this is great. It's the parade. How good can it really be?
Different rating system for the parade. Colin, come on.
But the outfit, I feel like the outfit is my biggest. The Australian outfit is my biggest like gripe with this.
Oh,
the orange, like what is that?
It's ochre. It's the ground. It's Central Australia, Jarrod. Come on.
It just washes out like the green and gold. Like anytime we like defer from green and gold, I'm like no. I'm like just. But would you stick to your colors?
But do you want like blazer, like traditional boring blazer, or something a bit different?
It's not like the pieces of the garment are okay. It's the color.
Okay.
And even if it was swapped around and the ochre was just like the undershirt, so it was less seam, I think like there was potential there, but I don't know.
Have you seen the inside? Have you seen what the inside like with the Mambo design? And
no.
Like it's very, look that up. And I want you to bookmark this in your memory when we get to...
Someone should have worn it inside out and written the name on it.
Yeah, write the name on it.
The water polo guy with the mohawk. I want you to bookmark this memory when we get to Athens, and just, if you remember how bad the Athens jackets were, that's all I'll say.
But other than that, I love everybody being in together. I love the volunteers having to like pen them in. We're not getting any athletes rushing the stage or doing anything here because you're not going to get past those volunteers. And I think the color, but just also everybody's wearing something so different. It feels like there wasn't like certain opening ceremonies, you'll have everybody wearing the same thing because of tradition, or just everybody like, this is the current style. Everyone's wearing this. I'm like, I don't know what was the popular style because everybody's doing something different. You have people in suits. You have people in like, they're like track pants and stuff. Then you have people in blazers. Like there's just a mix of everything. And the African nations have so much color that it works really well. Like shout out to Turkmenistan's flag bearer's hat, which was amazing. This fur hat was incredible. The Georgia royalty, I just want to know what that is. Because I feel like I saw them also at Atlanta. So I don't know if this was like a thing, like going like year after year that they just lead their team every time. I don't know.
They're not actually athletes. It's just like the Kardashians of Georgia. Get out to the front. Show off our country.
Chinese Taipei with like the kites as well was really cool. There was just so many like unique moments. And like what you said, it felt like everyone was having a fun time. And I loved how dated this was from the camcorders that everybody had. Like this was the opening ceremony for the camcorder, and it was so good.
And not like the mini DVs. These are like You want to talk about dated, like again with the commentary when you've got Bruce McAvaney and Sandy Roberts. Oh, and Marion Jones, here she comes, and oh, Lance Armstrong's here. He could go like, what a story Lance Armstrong is. And we what is Colin's facial?
I just looked up your Athens opening ceremony outfit. Yeah, that's horrible.
Thank you. But like we always joke about Bruce's obsession with all the tennis players. Like, oh, when are they going to mention Novak? When are they going to mention, Rafa? This was very 2000s when they're mentioning every single like 2000 tennis player. They're showing Philippoussis, they're showing Hewitt, Pat Rafter,
Ivanisevic,
like just was it Ramos? They were showing like just the mentions of all the 2000s tennis players. Like, whoa, this feels very dated. So yeah. Anything else to add, Jarrod? I don't know if I interrupted you there.
No, I just love it. And like the fact that camcorder footage would have been so bad.
Yeah. I love it when you see people taking pictures on like the film camera like this. I think Andrew Gaze at one point like stand it. Like we all remember those. You get it back and half of your finger was in the way. Like
take that to the chemist, get it developed. Yeah. Oh no, it's overexposed.
5 out of 5. Sorry, Colin. Jarrod.
I gave it a 4.
That's still solid. I'll take
thank
that.
you. I went through your guys' other top scores. I'm like, man, if this gets top score, then there's a problem.
Well, in all fairness, the only 5 I've given for parade is Paris, and that was down to the boats and the uniqueness of it. So in all fairness, this isn't a Ben Waterworth category. I've been very strict on my parades previously.
So mine, the highest I gave was a 4, and that was Pyeongchang. But really, I compare this to Atlanta because it's the same thing except without the ramp and a better thing in the center, better outfits. I gave a 2 to Atlanta, so this is a 2.5.
Oh, gosh.
So low.
Pyeongchang, in all fairness, like I gave that a 4, but I think that came down to Gangnam Style, and we had Boorang and Soorang in that, and they were having fun. Remember,
the volunteers were what brought that up. They were having a party.
That's right. Just
and
quickly.
That's it. That was I didn't mention that, but that was my other problem. Is you have all these people on the side, and they're just not. They're literally standing there like they're the royal guards at Buckingham Palace.
Sydney 2000 volunteers were trained very well. Very strict. I know I'm jumping ahead to our last section here, but no Sid Millie or Ollie. No Sid Millie or Dickhead. Didn't get to see him. No Fatso. Fatso wasn't around yet. I think he was born the next day, wasn't he? So anyway, yes, Gillian Allison, Fatso. Yes, we knew who Fatso was. That's because we were in the country. All right, I'm going to go with speech. We'll leave the cauldron to last. We may as well. I was going to mention it in the cultural, but I guess technically national anthem should really be in speeches. Who is going to sing the national anthem? Anyway, but Julianne. I mean. She's like literally the only person in Australia who's allowed to sing the national anthem. But I've got to say, so like, I forgot that Human Nature were in this. Now, Human Nature are kind of like the boy band equivalent of Tina Arena. They had like...
We had a little bit of exposure to them here.
But like, they had that like one song in the 90s. They did a song with John Farnham. They did that Every Time You Cry. But then they, I think, became more famous because they started doing like Motown songs. And I think they did a Vegas residency doing Motown. So that's when they really hit their stride. But they were quite a big deal. But so when they started singing the national anthem, I'm like, okay, I thought Julie Anthony sings this. Then Julie Anthony comes in and sings the second verse that no one in this verse. And I'm like, oh God, really? They're wasting Julie Anthony on the Beneath Our Radiant Southern Cross anthem that nobody ever knows? Like, what is going on here? But then the third part when she just fucking rips into it with Hugh, like, I am saying this right now, the best version of our national anthem I have ever heard in my life. That is on the soundtrack. And you would think I would skip the national anthem. Like, I'm listening to the soundtrack. Here I am going like, oh, Dare to Dream and Nikki Webster and Vanessa. I'm sorry, Jarrod is frozen at the most awkward. Sorry, Jarrod. It's not funny, but I really hope you were frozen and you haven't had a stroke. But I generally, I can't stop laughing at Jarrod's face when he's frozen.
Can we? You know how we have the group pictures for our group chats? Let's make this a group chat picture. He's gone.
Oh no! Oh, he hung up. But I've lost the ability to take a screenshot of that. I'll have to get it on the recording. Anyway, people listening to this, we'll share that. But on a soundtrack, I'm gonna skip the national anthem because I don't need to listen to my country's national anthem on a soundtrack. But when that hits the third part of our national anthem, and Julie Anthony's hits those notes, and we're not we're a country that doesn't show our pride on the levels of an America or even Canada. I feel you guys are a lot more proud of showcasing the maple leaf and singing "Oh Canada" and being very proud. We kind of aren't that type of country. But like that anthem, I've never felt that level of like Australia, and I don't really like our national anthem. I think our national anthem is kind of boring. But that was just like, whoa, okay, I am on board with that. The Olympic hymn, not one of the best, but still pretty darn good. They got a Greek Orthodox choir. I don't know if that was, you don't have commentary, so you didn't know that. So
clearly a senior citizen choir too. Like there wasn't one person under 50 in that.
So it was a Greek Orthodox mixed with the Millennium Choir, which I thought, I love the Olympic hymn. So I think it's always going to sound fantastic. Not as good as the Pyeongchang one, the Paris one, some of the other ones we've had, but it's still pretty darn good. And then the Olympic flag, before I need to get to Juan Antonio and Michael Knight in a minute, but the Olympic flag, and this is a sort of goes around like the speculation, because again, people were still like, who's going to be lighting the cauldron? So all these names that were thrown out there, you know, the Marjorie Jacksons, the Betty Cuthberts, all these iconic people like that, the Murray Roses. But basically, when all of a sudden you're seeing Marjorie Jackson, Murray Rose there carrying this flag, you're like, okay, well, they're clearly not lighting it. So we had Bill Roycroft, Murray Rose, Leanne Tooth, Gillian Rolton, Marjorie Jackson, Lorraine Krapp, Michael Wendon, and Nick Green were all carrying that flag, iconic Australians into that. I think at one point, one of them dropped the flag a little bit, so it kind of sagged before they sort of brought it around there. I thought that was quite funny. But the speeches. All right, so Michael Knight, he was quite a prominent Australian in the late 90s as head of SOCOG. He was, household name at that point. Not quite our reverend guy from Atlanta. Whereas he was getting the crowd involved. Michael Knight seemed like he had shit to do. He wasn't even pausing for applause. He'd be like, the Olympics here. And he would just stop and go, fuck, people are cheering. This is inconvenient. It's just like, what's the rush, Michael? Taken 7 years to get here. Take your time. He did kind of build it up a little bit towards the end. So he sort of calmed down a bit. He looked a bit nervous, I think, Michael. I think he was a little bit nervous. Before I get to His Excellency Juan Antonio, the Governor General, William Dean, when he opens it, he fluffed that, didn't he? What was going on there, Jarrod?
So bad.
It was
so bad. You know how smug John Howard looked in that moment in the background? This idiot.
Because do you remember the controversy around this in the year 2000?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, big controversy, because John Howard basically said, I'll open it. But then all of a sudden they were like, well, technically as a Commonwealth nation, it should be royalty. This was the first time a Commonwealth nation had a non-member of the royal family open the Olympics. So then it technically does fall to our Governor General, because technically the Governor General is the head of state of Australia. But I remember all the talk in the media was criticizing that, well, this should be John Howard. He's the Prime Minister. No one knows who the Governor General is. And John Howard basically stepped back because he saw it as, this is putting my political party on a pedestal. And this is also around not long after the big Republican referendum debate. So there was it was a big fucking deal. But you're absolutely right, Jarrod. You see John Howard, little Johnny Howard, above William Dean in the background, going, I could have done better than that, William, you fucking little shit. Jeanette in the back, even Jeanette sit there going John, honey, you should have done it.
I don't know what, I'm glad I'm not the only one who saw something.
You don't know what he said?
Neither do we. Well, I was going to say this, my notes say it's like a dyslexic with a speech impediment on top of that.
Classic William Dean, let's be honest.
It wasn't that hard either. It's not that hard.
It's the easiest speech of the night.
When Vladimir Putin in 14 years' time can... Donald Trump will nail this, and he will make it about him in 3 years' time. But he will this is the best opening ever. No one's opened a game. It's
extraordinary. It's fantastic.
Without this, it wouldn't have been me. I invented the Olympics.
Ceremony's huge.
Pierre de Coubertin, he came to me. He said, Donald, bring the Olympics back. I said, Pierre, absolutely. We're going to do it. It's going to be big. It's going to be flashy. But no, William Dean, sorry, mate. You nearly fucked it. What saves this for me and is going to give him a 5 out of 5 you've got two memorable bits. We're going to remember this. We're going to remember the fact that Michael Knight's in a rush and William Dean sucks, right? I mean, tell me one thing about the Governor General of Canada opening Vancouver. You cannot remember that. You're going to remember William Dean. That's
he
one
didn't
thing.
almost knock over the microphone stand when he was done.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'll win. And John, you didn't have the Stephen Harper, whoever was Prime Minister in 2010, stand by the Governor General going, you fucking idiot. I could have done better than this. I should have taken it. But the fact that Michael Knight hands it over, I have the great pleasure to welcome Wild Arteta. This is the man who famously fucked up the pronunciation of Sydney. The winner is Sydney. Bring on the joys of the world. What does he open with? G'day, Sydney. G'day, Australia. And everybody loses their shit. And he does this is he's just in a suit. This is the least amazing that Juan Antonio's looked in all. He's generally wearing something pretty memorable. He's just in a standard suit, but he pulls it off. There he is. It's his last ever opening ceremony that Juan Antonio will ever get to do, but he opens with G'day Sydney. He sounds like a 3-year-old trying to pronounce it, but he just pulls it off and everybody loves him. He was so popular. I mean, literally the park next to the stadium in Homebush is still named after this man. Oh, God. And he acknowledges the Indigenous people before anybody did in this country, ahead of his time. Juan Antonio, he saves this. He gives it a 5 out of 5 for me. I'm sorry. And he thanks Dawn Fraser, his date. His date was Dawn Fraser. Now, unless Kirsty Coventry's date in 2032 is Kieran Perkins or
John Farnham
or Ray Gunn, you're not topping it. All right, Dale B. Smith better next to me, Kirsty Coventry in 2032 because Juan Antonio, Dawn fucking Fraser, and thanked her. That's how good of a date Dawn fucking Fraser is. 5 out of 5. Shut up, Colin. Jarrod, over to you.
It's so good. I am a fan of Michael Knight as well in this. I think I agree with you. He rushes and is no one's cutting me off. I'm just keeping on going. But he does it in a way that nobody tries to interrupt. So it's okay. It's this is a man, he's speaking loud. He's speaking confident. He's getting through it. Also, he's the biggest hype man for everybody else who speaks after him. He's over the top, clapping in the background. Governor General, terrible. So it's so bad. To be fair, it starts terrible. He kind of salvages it towards the end when I'm finally okay, I can now understand what he's saying. I understand when he's declaring it open, I'm okay, I get it. Before I'm I don't know if he's saying Millennium, Modern Olympiad. I don't know what he's trying to say. Celebrating Sydney. I don't know. It's all meshed together. And by the end, I'm he salvaged it. Good on him. Must have been nervous. Good on him. Then ruins it again by at the end straight into the microphone stand with his hand.
Yeah,
I'm
he does
what
that
are you
wave.
trying to do?
He does, those old 1960s. I'm thinking Richard Nixon, that weird political wave they used to do. He does that, and John Howard was doing
John
that.
Howard's got a weird wave.
It's when the Australian athletes come, him and Janetta go Australia, we fucking love you. There you are, woo! He should be out of the sheet. Oh shit! Oh, little Johnny Howard.
And then Juan Antonio. Just what a legend. And you're right. To immediately start to get the crowd on board straight away by saying g'day terribly twice.
So good.
And then him he's not new to this gig, but him still having no idea when to pause properly. And he has his speech written, but definitely his off the cuff moments of thanking Dawn Fraser. That definitely wasn't written down. That was just a spur of the moment.
He was trying to get lucky.
So
he was
good.
trying to get lucky. If I thank her in this speech, I might get lucky tonight.
Just so good, so iconic. Such a legend. And the fact that, he salvages this whole speech segment for me and just wraps it up so nicely. And what a way to go out.
Oh, I mean, you're right. He's done this. This is he's about his 5th, 6th Olympics by this point. You think he got it down pat. The one I didn't mention, I always seem to forget the oaths. But Rochelle Hawkes doing the oath.
She sounded so Aussie.
She did. And at the end of it, when she was just but I love the official guy. This official guy was so confident. He'd been practicing his speech for years. He was I'm going to nail this. I don't need to look at my notes. And he starts reading. He's on behalf of all the athletes, blah, blah, blah. And then he pauses and he goes, oh, fuck. And he looks at his notes. He's so confident. And then halfway he's just fuck. It's what do I have to say at the end? Anyway, Colin, sorry.
So I agree on everything with the speeches. I love this. What'd you say his name was? Michael Knight?
Michael Knight, yep.
All my notes say is big smile, big teeth, big man. Like seeing him stand next to Juan Antonio, it's like double the size. And he does have it. He doesn't have energy like the Atlanta guy, but it's fun to watch. I have the exact same note that you mentioned, Ben. Like Juan Antonio is just dressed very ordinary this time. Like he doesn't stand out the way he normally does. I love that he opens with his
good day.
Good day. Yeah, it's very poor good days. This Governor General guy, he's horrible. This is why it can't be 5 out of 5 though, because like neither of you have talked up the second half of this, which is like the Olympic anthem, the flag raising. We have a very okay Olympic anthem from the Senior Citizen Choir here. There's nothing extraordinary about it.
Oh, they're Greek. They're like the Olympics. They're Greek.
And then the flag raises, and maybe for the first time in Olympic history, we have a completely limp flag. Like,
but it's the right way up. What more do you want?
but we talked about this in past ceremonies. Like, there's wind machines up there to make sure this thing works. I'm like, this won't be the first technical snafu. That's what they had.
If they could have a wind lawnmower, you know it was going up, but they couldn't get a Victor up that high.
Yeah, you got the flag graphic behind it waving. Who needs the actual flag?
That was ahead of its time in the year 2000. That was Windows ME showing the flag. There it was.
Yeah, it's just that part of it.
Bill Gates was there personally making sure Windows ME
that was miraculous after the Millennium Bug. They couldn't have turned on that computer.
That was the only time Windows ME ever worked. Was right there to there. Bill Gates, there he was. That's why the cauldron didn't work. It was on ME.
I got nothing else to add. I mean, I love the speeches, as brief as they are, for good, memorable moments, good and bad. There is nothing bad, but nothing great about the anthem and the flag raising.
Your highest you've ever given is 4.5. You gave that to Paris. And other than that, you gave Vancouver a 4, Sarajevo a 4. That was all down to Juan Antonio's jacket, though, if I remember from Sarajevo. So what do you?
There was that woman too. What was that?
That woman. That woman,
yes. Do I go now?
No, that was Calgary. That was she was Calgary.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
That was Doris.
Yes, Susan, it's you. We've practiced this 10 times.
I love that Rio, probably exclusively for the length, I gave a 1 and Ben gave a 0.52.
Well, that was when that was the one time we didn't like Thomas Bach because he wouldn't shut up.
Yeah.
What are you giving Sydney, Colin?
It's my average rating, 3.5.
All right. Jarrod, come on, join me.
All right, would have been a 5 if you fully knocked over the microphone stand.
All right, yeah, well, it's a 5 from me. So, yep. All right, let's get to the cauldron now. Let's just preface one thing with this because we're going to be very biased around this, but like we've been like. Cauldron is similar to me in a parade. Like it's an interesting one how to like you give it the score, and this is one I think I'm the most like. This has to be something special to be 5 out of 5. And I think kind of prior to this, we've given these ones like we love steps, we love big flames, we love things like that. Obviously, like iconic moments like Muhammad Ali last time around because it's just so memorable for the moment of things. And we haven't done Barcelona yet, but I mean, let's be honest, I'm pretty sure that's going to give it a 5.
Yeah.
Nagano misses out in a 5 because it was, the ski jumper, but they needed a light that in the middle of the thing. But like, just the spectacle of this, like. This goes back to our point of just the creating of the modern opening ceremony. The fact that we have this like massive like ramp and water and just the choir and the music, like not even getting to the who's lighting it and everything along those lines. Just like, I just want to preface that by just saying just the spectacle of this and the build up there. I think I asked you this, Colin, for Vancouver. Was there much of a conversation and a build up around who's lighting the cauldron? Because this is all anybody gave a shit about in Australia was who's lighting the cauldron. We didn't give a shit who was singing. We didn't give a shit who was carrying the flag. Like we knew all that. It was who's lighting the cauldron. That was the only question anybody wanted answered. So when you get Tina Arena wrapping up a song and then you get to this point where all of a sudden you come into the stadium and you're obviously, I'm sure at least hearing the stadium announcers and the iconic, I can't remember the actor's name, the Australian actor who's very famous for doing voiceovers. Like he used to do ads, I think, for like Harvey Norman and all these kind of stuff.
Liam Hemsworth.
Not quite Liam Hemsworth. The third Hemsworth that no one talks about. So this obviously became very iconic too because as we just did in our Paris 1900 recap, we mentioned that Sydney they honored 100 years of female representation in the Olympics, and this is what they have at all. And I don't know if that was advertised, because like people were talking about like, is Kieran Perkins going to light up Murray Rose, the sort of famous male athletes, but no one ever touched on the fact that, well, let's celebrate women. And then all of a sudden you got iconic women who come into the stadium. So Betty Cuthbert and Raylene Boyle, straight away, that knocks two favorites out of the, like, I remember what Dad and I watching this live going like, oh my God, like Betty Cuthbert's not lighting it. Oh, like, here we go. Dawn Fraser's next. And then like, she was probably like the big favorite. Mm-hmm. Juan Antonio's date.
He left him with the bill.
Yeah, exactly. Here comes Dawn Fraser. Then you got Shirley Strickland, another like these household names are going out of the parks and going like, okay, who's going to get it? Then you've got Australia's Survivor winner Shane Gould. Watch Australian Survivor, Colin, because Shane Gould won Australian Survivor.
I remember your interview. Yeah.
There she is. We didn't interview her, but anyway, thank you for remembering an interview that we didn't interview.
Was that on this with the Oz Network or Australian Survivor?
Never had Shane Gould on.
You talked about her a lot.
Because she's credited as Tasmania's only Survivor player because she lives in Tasmania now, but she's not Tasmanian, so I get uppity about that. Anyway, great Survivor player, great swimmer. So then, like, my only criticism about this is maybe the order, because I'm not disrespecting Debbie Flintoff King, a great Australian runner, but should she be like the penultimate person to hand it? Should that not be Dawn? Should that be your cock tease? Because all of a sudden, if you haven't seen Dawn and then she gets it, you're thinking, oh, okay, here's Dawny. But then you get to Kathy. Now, I remember it sort of like, I remember Dad and I getting a little bit like, oh, really? Because like, this wasn't really that period. We see it so often now where it's almost like a modern athlete, like somebody who's competing at those games, the Naomi Osaka's, those type of people. Like, this hadn't really been done that much. It was usually honoring a great of the Olympics. So nobody really talked about this in Sydney of it being a current Olympian. So this was like, oh, okay, bit left of field. But I mean, in hindsight, it couldn't be anyone else. She was the face of Australian Olympics at the time. She became the face of Australian Olympic tides. She gets it. She goes up there. Said, I love steps. But when you add fucking like a fountain of water and a UFO that emerges from the water, there's a fountain. And I don't give a fuck, Rick Birch, if this was a malfunction because some switch went off and for 3 minutes 40 you're standing there in awkwardness going along.
Longer than that, I think it's still slowly raising up.
Yeah. And I found an edit where somebody edited it so there's no pause, so it just goes up like it's meant to. But like, I remember watching this, I think watching this live, we didn't think this, I thought this was part of it. Like, I don't think at the time I was thinking like, this is a mistake, because even the way the choir keeps playing, they're like obviously like stretching for time. And when it goes up and just fireworks, we complained about Atlanta, there were no fireworks. Boom. Like, this would be the first like one, I think, because I don't think Barcelona had fireworks from memory with once the arrow went through there. Just like, and the way the music hits in, I think it's when Dawn Fraser or Shane Gould actually gets it. Then you start to hear the slow building of the choir singing. So they, oh, and then the way it just goes up and just cut to Kathy there with a little sheet on her because poor Kathy's cold. I mean, it's just, like, again, call it bias, call it national pride, call it just all the build up to it. But it's so iconic. It's not quite a arrow. It's not quite a, Beijing guy running on the roof. It's not Muhammad Ali. But just, God, it tears me up. It gives me chills. It's, love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Jarrod.
This is so good. From like the lead up of like all these iconic Australian Olympians, Shane Gould, I just love that woman. Like, like
more so because of Survivor, or
yes, she is like my favorite Australian Survivor contestant, and no one will ever beat her. She's just a legend, and just everything about her is just so like quirky and unique and funny. And she's doing like this, like
symbol,
and then she's having the best time running. What kills me is the malfunction, whatever. The announcer in the stadium announcing Kathy Freeman before you see her kills me. It kills me.
Because Debbie Flintoff's got it, and you hear Kathy Freeman, and then all of a sudden when you give it to her, then all of a sudden the guy's like, Kathy Freeman.
But you're right, it was so unexpected at the time, and the fact too that we even like we see Kathy in like the parade of athletes. Like they like zoom in on her, and it's like you again, like no one was thinking of it. Then also you see her in the parade of like athletes, like, well, like she's clearly like not coming back for anything, right? She's in the parade. The steps amazing. The water feature of all amazing. It was actually giving me like, I feel like the Paris Cauldron, like watching this, I'm like, the Paris Cauldron is like throwback to Sydney. I'm like, why do we not have more like water feature cauldrons? It's so good.
Why do you think I like Paris so much? Come on.
The fact that she's in the fountain getting wet.
Yeah.
And then like lights the thing. Like it like generally lights properly. Like she's standing there for too long because of the malfunction. I feel so sorry for her in that moment.
Really, like she's got that sheet on
everything going through her head. I'm like, just keep standing there looking.
Well, she's got an earpiece
stoic.
in. Listen to so Rick Birch talks about she's got an earpiece in, and props to Kathy Freeman for just remaining like she could be standing there going like what? She could be like fucking Susan going like, what's going on? Do I move here? But she just stands there and just waits. Like so good, Kathy.
It's so amazing. Like I didn't even need the cauldron to go up.
Yeah,
it does, and it's great. But if they had like it's malfunctioned, it sits here, no one would have known. It would have been fine.
Yep.
Like it's so good. Yeah, just everything about it. The fact that it does eventually go up and like the iconic, not even just the fireworks, the iconic just like closing shot of like the cauldron looking like a torch is so good. Everything about this, minus the malfunctions, is just so perfect.
I just, something about the malfunction just makes it even better to me. I don't know, like it's silly, but like it's sort of like they make fun of it in the closing ceremony, obviously. But like we talked about it in Vancouver. Vancouver has a malfunction and then they make fun of the closing ceremony. Sochi, like 20 people died because one of the rings didn't go up, but then they make fun of it because the Russians found some humor in the closing ceremony. But like I joke with Rick Birch when we had him on the show that like you created this like joking thing of like, let's fuck things up. Like other people did it. But like he talks about it being like the longest 3 minutes 40 of his life. And yeah, it was a switch on a computer, didn't go off. Basically, they shoved people down there. They
Millennium Bug,
Control Alt Delete. Bob's your uncle. It was up there. And this cauldron is still there. It's right next to Homebush in Kathy Freeman Park. You walk under it in the summer. They do put water on it. You can go on it. It's a fountain. It's just like the Vancouver one. Colin had the Vancouver one still down there at the waterfront. But yeah, anyway, Colin, your thoughts?
I can't say that the malfunctions make this better. I think that they cover for it better than some of the other ones. But the biggest problem I have is that the timing is all thrown off. The music doesn't quite line up the way you know it's supposed to line up. Like you can hear, because the music's already playing, you can hear the moment where it was supposed to be the cauldron reaches the top playing much earlier. And then when the cauldron reaches the top, it's like, well, that's a little flat. The biggest problem for me is that you've got these what look like incredible fireworks, but because the cauldron is still rising and then nobody got word to the fireworks people, half of the fireworks are blocked by the cauldron right now. And the shot that they're stuck on, they're like, oh, now we're missing half the fireworks. So those things definitely take it down at least a little bit for me. Mistakes that do make this better. So your first two Olympians that come out. First of all, I don't know if this is the oldest living Australian Olympian being pushed by the second oldest Australian Olympian. They might want to
Boyle's not that old in 2000.
Well, but no, hold on. But you see a moment where they're pushing, and the one who's pushing stops to basically take a breather because she's winded, and then the crowd basically dies down because they're like, oh, that's it. And then all of a sudden, okay, I caught my breath, and she starts pushing again, and the crowd's like, oh, they're still going, yeah. And this is, I think, how the announcer got thrown off in the first place, because he starts announcing some other things a little bit early here too. But it was amazing. I loved seeing somebody actually be like, all right, this isn't part of the plan. I got to take a break for a second, guys. Woo! Oh, my calves really aren't in the shape for this anymore. Okay, let's go again. You ready? Okay, go. Get a motorized wheelchair or something. But that was my favorite moment of this whole, I guess, start of the torch relay here. The moment though with the hand gesture, like I was hoping one of you would give me an answer to that. I don't know if that was like we're gonna have something close to a real dove in the middle of this, or she's like flame dove. Hey guys,
Shane
remember
Gould
Soul?
being Shane Gould.
Just game on, moles. Like
I like to think that she's giving a throwback to Soul there. Look at the flame. It's a dove.
That's how she won Survivor. That she just.
Yeah, I did note the same thing. I'm like, is this announcer way ahead of Kathy Freeman here? The spectacle of so that they don't have, I'm sure I'm going to get told off for this, but they don't have Muhammad Ali lighting the flame, right? you're never going to have somebody of that stature.
I mean,
if you're in any country.
Barnum was already performing.
Exactly, yes. But it's impossible to top.
The Wiggles
Muhammad
weren't quite
Ali.
that big at that point, were they?
Only Hooley Dooley were available.
In all honesty, it's probably impossible to top even Evander Holyfield, and he was like second on the whole torture relay, right? So, you don't have that. You don't have the big stunts that we had in like the early 90s. What they make up for it is like the stage spectacle here, because we haven't talked much about the stage, but like the performance stage. At first, it kind of looks like a layered cake. And then here, when we have like this fountain and everything, and like, whoa, like that came out of nowhere. And they kept that in wraps well. It's an incredible, visual structure. The pause does become noticeable after a while. And you start to feel like something's going wrong here. If that had gone 2 minutes, I think it still would have been like, okay, we're okay. But like 4 minutes, it's like, whoa, something's definitely wrong here. And then the timing gets off and everything like that. But I can see in my head where this would have worked perfectly. Like we talked about during Atlanta, that you could hear that one woman in the background saying, oh, well, much worse during rehearsal. They had their technical issue. But like, I still can't ignore slight technical issues here. But could this have been the greatest cauldron lighting of all time without a technical issue? Yeah, definitely.
Well, Rick Birch has talked about how in the rehearsals, it was the opposite. Like, it worked perfectly. It absolutely worked perfectly. So it was kind of the opposite.
Then we should have heard him in the background. It worked much better in rehearsal.
Going up that way. You probably don't remember it, Colin, but do you remember there being talk of this, like, being malfunction? Like, were the Canadian commentators going like, "Ooh, this doesn't look right. Something's going on here."
No, I don't remember anything. I mean, you remember it after Sochi, obviously, right? But I might not have been watching much other than just the sports at this point.
Well, props to Bruce and Sandy and the crew, and Gary Wilkinson was on there and Ernie Dingo, but like none of them said anything. Like they kept quiet. And this is one thing that I'll give props to commentators of this era. They don't make it about them. They just let you soak in the moment. I guarantee you, we're watching this today, and I like Matt Shervington, don't get me wrong, but if he's commentating, he's probably going like, oh, something doesn't seem right here. Like, just take in the moment. Let us do it, So we'll start with you, Colin. What are you giving this out of 5?
I was leaning between a 4 and a 4.5. Believe it or not, it's actually the pause because we need to take a break pushing the wheelchair that pushes it up to a 4.5.
Oh, good old Betty getting you a half a point. So you have literally never given a 5.
I know which ones I will give a 5 to in my head, and that's one of the reasons why.
But the most unique thing is here, 4 consecutive, like in chronological order, you've given 4.5. So Lillehammer, Atlanta, Nagano, and Sydney have all gotten 4.5s.
This is the best era. I think most of us agree. Like this whole era, 90s and 2000s, is where it was at its peak.
Yeah, 100%. Jarrod?
I am with Colin, 4.5.
Oh, I thought you were going to join me on a 5. Oh, it's 5 for me. You know that. Which then, does that give us a new overall leader? It does. Sydney is now in number 1 spot, ladies and gentlemen. So Sydney overtakes Vancouver as our number 1. Yeah, Australia beats Canada. Woo!
I wonder how that happened.
You've got 3 on this list, Hilding. We've only got 1.
In fairness, if you actually look at the ratings, I think I rated Vancouver lower than both of you, too.
And in all fairness, Vancouver nearly got perfect marks for me. Vancouver only missed out by 2 points getting perfect for me. So
I'd love to know what the detraction was for the other category in Vancouver.
The parade, the cauldron. Yeah, anyway, so Sydney now on top with 53. And a win for Summer. It's been a while since Summer has been on top.
I love that Ben's again feigning surprise, announces from the beginning, I'm giving this perfect 20. And then he's like, wow, we actually got to number 1. How did we beat Vancouver?
Paris got perfect 20 and that wasn't number 1. So Jarrod helped contribute to this one. So don't put it all on me. Thank you very much.
Jared's not feigning surprise though.
Well, in all fairness, I was wondering how Jarrod was going to go. Because like I think we both said in the last one, like, oh, does this hold up? Like how are we going to, whatever. And in all fairness, it had been a while since I've watched it. So it could have gone down. I mean, I love London. I would say I'm going to give London a perfect score, but it could drop. I don't know. Paris is third on 49.5. Nagano is fourth on 47.5, followed by Lillehammer on 44.5 and Atlanta on 42. Pyeongchang still punching above its weight. We never would have imagined Pyeongchang would be that high. We all thought we hated Pyeongchang, didn't we? on 41. And if you want to see the other ones on our YouTube version. Our final little bits, the weirdest moment. Is it William Dean? You didn't mention your woman fan in the crowd that you sent us that video of. She was quite funny, that woman.
There's a small clip. I wish I had the timestamp for it, but at some point they cut to this one woman in the crowd who has the most overly excited look on her face that instantly turns to, it's a combination of either, I just peed myself on national TV, or the voices are back. They're telling me to do something terrible right now. Like it's like flip of a switch. Yay!
You want to know something that dated this in a weird way, Jarrod, and Colin's not going to know who I'm talking about, because obviously it was Channel 7, Home and Away, big deal. They cut to the crowd at one point and they show Belinda Emmett. Now, do you remember who Belinda Emmett famously was in a relationship with until she passed away?
John Farnham.
Not quite.
That's correct.
Mr. Rove McManus. So you cut to the crowd and you see a very young Belinda Emmett and a very young Rove McManus singing along to Waltzing Matilda. So that was a very weird cut to there. So weirdest, is it woman in crowd, William Dean?
I would have gone with lawnmowers, but that's
lawnmowers.
I'm not Australian apparently.
I mean, I'm glad to put lawnmowers up there. I'll take that as weird. Jarrod?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah. The blunder?
The speech.
Well, I'd say it's the cauldron.
Over the
speech is worse. The cauldron, they hid it.
Cauldron.
They didn't hide it that well.
Gotta be the cauldron. No mascots, no Sid Millie or Dickhead or Fatso. So, no. The best moment, cauldron. Vanessa. The whole sting.
Wheelchair.
Juan Antonio.
Can we go with best moment as your Governor General?
No.
That's a worse moment.
Nikki Webster. Nikki Webster.
Who? Oh, that girl.
The girl.
John Farnham lip singing. No,
I like the cloth projection.
Vanessa, right? Yeah, just that whole section. Heroes is just
Vanessa section. Yeah,
with the
Although it would have been better at the closing, I reckon. But
can we? I mean, we haven't done a rankings episode in one time. We don't really have the time, and if we'll bring it back one day. But well, a good one to rank would be ranking the Olympic before. Choose a song, the iconic song from every how does Heroes Live Forever rank with Celine Dion on the Eiffel Tower, with Katie Lang doing Hallelujah? That would be an interesting one. So pick your song.
As good as Calgary.
Well, what's that fucking song?
The spirit.
Oh, it's gonna be stuck in my head. No. Any final thoughts, gentlemen? Jarrod?
It's just so good. It's the spectacle of it all, which is just amazing. I watch this and my mind is just blown at how they got this many people, and just I feel like every idea that there were no ideas were thrown out is what it feels like. They had a board meeting. How about this? Yes. And this, yes. And this, yes. Oh, what about this? Oh, no, yes. Yep. Lawnmowers, short in. Yep. Just everything. And they were said yes to everything and it worked.
The one thing I will say, Brisbane's going to be a letdown. I can't see, Paris ignited my passion for the fact that opening ceremonies can be good again. So, okay. And we're going to see LA should hopefully be good. I'm sure Milano Cortina is going to be pretty good. No idea what the French Alps are going to do, but if they base it on what Paris did, I'm sure it's going to be good. But, I just don't know what Brisbane's going to do. How can you top this? What can Brisbane do? They can't even build a fucking stadium. So,
Lawnmowers has been done.
Yeah, exactly.
Hedge clippers?
Cochlear implants. Australia's famous invention.
Fred Hollows doing the eye thing as well. Oh, that's funny. Jarrod, you're on fire in this episode. Colin, any final thoughts?
I think I mentioned at the beginning, the legacy of this is what it started. And, I think the debate will all come down to, when we go through Athens, Beijing, London, does this hold up simply for being the first one? Because you get that sometimes movies, people be okay, well, arguably, Empire Strikes Back is bigger and better, but it's but Star Wars did it first, or then you get Rise of Skywalker, which would be something else. But
the Tokyo.
Are there ones that maybe did it bigger and better than this? Possibly, but I think you really do have to look at what this was able to usher in, and it's kind of appropriate that I'm seeing similarities here with your Paris rankings, because they both are sort of the first of their kind. And, maybe it'll be the same thing. Maybe a million other countries will copy the Paris formula and it'll just never hold up to what Paris is.
Well, I'm glad that we're sort of forced our hand in doing 2 of the golden age. To me, the 2000, because I know we did 2010, I know we did Vancouver, but we seemingly never get these 2000s ones. So we're forced our hand with 2000. We're going to talk about what we're doing next. Obviously, we're forcing 2006, but Athens, I always remember watching Athens and just thinking I was going to be let down, but I just always remember that opening with the lake and the fact that you fucking drain a lake in the middle of that's not bad. With the, everything along those lines. And obviously Beijing, you can't talk about that. And then London just blew my mind. I think you're right. And we always jello over Salt Lake. Salt Lake was a great opening ceremony. We've got so many to look forward to in this period, including our next one. So we're forcing our hand. I know we did our draw during our last one in Atlanta that we're doing Seoul. Seoul won't happen until next year because obviously we're approaching Winter Games, and so we've got a lot of coverage coming in that way. But we have
one of the birds to rest.
One of the birds to rest, absolutely. We've got one more slot left that we've got between now and the Olympics next year, and we've deliberately said, well, Italy hosts an Olympics this millennium. It was Turin. We're doing Turin or Torino, whatever you want to say. I remember loving this opening ceremony because there was a Ferrari Formula One car in it doing donuts. There were speed skaters with fire. The Pavarotti performance, because I always think, was Ricky Martin in this one or he was in the closing ceremony? Very Italian Ricky Martin was in the closing ceremony. But it's been a long time since I've watched the entire Turin one, but I remember getting up, watching this live, being so pumped and excited. But it just gives me memories of Ferrari Formula One cars, fire on speed skaters, and Pavarotti. But I do remember really loving this one. And I'm excited to get pumped and ready for the next Italian Games because I know watching this that I'm going to be in the next opening ceremony. I'm Australia's flag bearer. I'm announcing
He's the Nikki Webster of Milan opening ceremonies.
I am the Nikita Websterino in San Sereno there in Milan. But I've got tickets to the opening ceremony, so I'm so very excited for that. Jarrod, do you remember Turin? Did you get up watch this one at
I didn't.
You didn't?
So this will be a first time watch.
Oh, so you never even watched it? You never even watched a replay? Ah, okay. Well, there you go. The Donut Games of Italy. There we go. Colin, you would have watched this one. You loved Turin's your favorite Olympics, isn't it?
It's my favorite of the Winter Olympics, yeah. And I will also have another hat because I do have a Turin hat. I mean, these opening ceremonies, again, I think it's one of the ones that does get overshadowed by what's around it because you're stuck right in the middle of Athens and Beijing, which might be the 2 biggest and best ever. But it was a perfect representation of Italian culture, but also I remember being very sporty. It was very much based on sport and everything. And a smaller crowd, if I remember as well. We're not going to be getting one of these giant stadium ones.
It's a good point you make because even the way we're talking about these golden era of opening ceremonies, we are always talking about the summer games in these ones. And as I just said before, I seem to always gel over Salt Lake. But I mean, I remember Salt Lake and Turin being very memorable opening ceremonies. I remember more of Salt Lake and Turin than I do of Sochi, and Sochi happened more recently. I vaguely remember Sochi, and that was barely 10 years ago. But we also get to talk about the Dale Begg-Smith opening ceremony. So, don't know if Dale was in this opening ceremony because the mogul's generally the first or second day of the Olympics. He probably wasn't there, old Dale.
And good news, since we just had 4.5 hours, it's 2 hours and 49 minutes.
Oh, 2 hours and 49 minutes of Dale Begg-Smith is all I need.
Which I just want to add, just in case I forget, because sometimes my kids say funny things. I'm like, I could mention it on one of the podcasts. But when I was finishing watching this, I did message both of you because Remy was asking me, what are you watching? I'm like, well, this is the Sydney opening ceremonies for the Olympics. He goes, can we go there? And I'm like, no, it's kind of far and expensive. He goes, well, we can go there next week, maybe. I'm like, it's still going to be far and expensive. And he says, well, is Sydney still open right now? I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's open. And he looks at the remote and he sees it's 4 hours into the show. He goes, this started 4 hours ago. It's probably still open. I'm like, yes, I think it's still open.
You can stay on Jarrod's couch, It's I'm just inviting him over to your house. I don't live there anymore, so you can't stay on my couch.
You could fly him over. Go for it.
When we do the Melbourne 1956 Olympic opening ceremony, if we ever find the footage of it, you can stay on my couch if he wants to come here. So,
bring Muck with you and you got a deal.
Exactly. Bring Muck. What's the mascot of Turin? That weird stick thing, wasn't it? No, it was the snowflake. It was the marshmallow thing. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, clearly we remember that. That's coming your way in a couple of months. In the meantime, though, Sydney 2000 is happening our 25th anniversary month. If you missed our 25th anniversary special from a couple of days ago, Joanna Griggs joined me to chat about her memories and just going over everything to do with the Olympics in general. Great chat there. And dropping this week, we are speaking to Natalie Cook, the other half of the beach volleyball duo who spoke to Kerry Pothast a few years ago, gold medalist from the Sydney Olympics in beach volleyball. Great chat with her. And then after that, we have a chat with Tom King, gold medalist in sailing for Australia during the Sydney Olympics. It was our first gold medal for Australia in sailing in about 30 odd years. They won the gold medal in the same day as the women did on that day. It was a fantastic day for Australian sailing. So that's all coming your way. With that, we've got a newscast coming your way soon and some great interviews coming your way. Ski mountaineering galore. If you want to learn more about ski mountaineering, then tune into Off the Podium in a couple of months because I think we've interviewed every athlete going to the games. But in all seriousness, they're great athletes and you're going to get a lot out of that. And some other great chats coming your way from mainly Winter Olympians as we lead up into Milano Cortina, but a few other ones spread out there in the meantime as well. Jarrod, thank you very much. We look forward to chatting to you one more time this year for Turin.
It's been great.
Yes. Have you got your Italian bucket hat?
I'll have to source one.
Yeah. Let's get a Dale Big Smith one. I'm sure there's one going on there.
Big pizza.
Yeah. Just put a pizza on your head. I'm just going to get fat like Pavarotti so I can just sit there and that's a dream. I want Pavarotti better be fucking spinning on like wires in the middle of the terrain. I don't remember that. He'd probably break the wires. But anyway, rest in peace, Pavarotti. Colin, thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure, but thank you.
Yeah. Thank you and good day.
Good day. Good day. If you enjoyed today's episode, my name has been Juan Antonio Samaranch. And if you haven't, it's been William Dean. Good night.